All these cooperation networks, from the cities of ancient Mesopotamia to the Queen and Roman empires, were imagined orders. The social norms that sustain them was based neither on ingrained instincts nor on personal acquaintances, but rather on belief in shared myths. How can myths sustain entire empires? We have already discussed one such example, Pigott. Now let's examine two of the best known myths in history, the cult of Hammurabi of c. 1776 BC, which served as a cooperation manual for hundreds of thousands of ancient Babylonians, and the American Declaration of Independence of AD 1776, which today still serves as a cooperation manual for hundreds of millions of modern Americans. In 1776 BC, Balium was the world's biggest city. The Babylonian Empire was probably the world's largest, with more than 1 million subjects. It ruled most of Mesopotamia, including the bulk of modern Iraq and parts of present-day Syria and Iran. The Babylonian king most famous today is Hammurabi. His fame is due primarily to the texts that bear his name, the Code of Hammurabi. It was a collection of laws and judicial decisions whose aims was to present Hammurabi as a role model of a just king, serve as a basis for a more uniform legal system across the Babylonian Empire, and teach future generations what justice is and how a just king acts. Future generations took notice. The intellectual and bureaucratic elite of ancient Mesopotamia canonized the text, and apprentice scribes continued to copy it long after Hammurabi died and his empire lay in ruins. Hammurabi's code is therefore a good source for understanding the ancient Mesopotamians' idea of social order. The text begins by saying that the gods Anu, and Marduk, the leading deities of the Mesopotamian pantheon, appointed Hammurabi to make justice prevail in the land, to abolish the wicked and the evil, to prevent the strong from oppressing the weak. It then lists about 300 judgments given in a set of formulae. If such and such a thing happens, such is the judgment. For example, judgment from 196. If a superior man should blind the eye of another superior man, they shall blind his eye. Blah, blah, blah. After listing his judgments, Hammurabi again declares that these are the just decisions which Hammurabi, the able king, has established, and thereby has directed the land along the course of truth and the correct way of life. I am Hammurabi, noble king. I have not been careless or negligent towards humankind, granted to my care by the god Enlil, and which were suffering the god Marduk trust me. Hammurabi's code exerts that Babylonian social order is rooted in universal and internal principles of justice dictated by the gods. The principles of hierarchy is of paramount importance. According to the code, people are divided into 2 genders and 3 classes: superior people, commoners, and slaves. Members of each gender and class have different values. The life of a female commoner is worth 30 silver shekels, and that of a slave woman 20 silver shekels, whereas the eye of a male commoner is worth 60 silver shekels. The code also establishes establishes a strict hierarchy within families, according to which children are not independent persons, but rather the property of their parents. Hence, if one superior man kills the daughter of another superior man, the killer's daughter is executed in punishment. To us, it might seem strange that the killer remains unharmed, whereas his innocent daughter is killed, but to Hammurabi and the Babylonians this seems perfectly just. Hammurabi's code was based on the premise that if the king's subjects all accepted their positions in the hierarchy and acted accordingly, the empire's million inhabitants would be able to cooperate effectively. Their society could then produce enough food for its members, distributing it efficiently, protect itself against its enemies, and expand its territory so as to acquire more wealth and better security. About 3,500 years after Hammurabi's death, the inhabitants of 13 British colonies in North America felt that the King of Great Britain was treating them unjustly. Their representatives gathered in the city of Philadelphia, and on 4th July 1776, the colonies declared that their inhabitants were no longer subjects of the British Crown. Their Declaration of Independence proclaimed the universal and internal principles of justice, which, like those of Hammurabi, were inspired by a divine power. However, the most important principle dictated by the American God was somewhat different from principle dictated by the gods of Babylon. The American Declaration of Independence asserts that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like Hammurabi's Code, the American founding document promises that if humans act accordingly to its scaled principles, millions of them would be able to cooperate effectively, living safely and peacefully in a just and prosperous society. Like the Code of Hammurabi, the American Declaration of Independence was not just a document of its time and place, it was accepted by future generations as well. For more than 200 years, American school children have been copying and learning it by heart. The two texts present us with another dilemma. Both the Code of Hammurabi and American Declaration of Independence claim to outline the universal and eternal principle of justice, but according to all Americans, to the Americans all people are equal, whereas according to the Babylonian people are decidedly equally. The American would, of course, say that they are right and that Hammurabi is wrong. Hammurabi naturally would retort that he's right and that the Americans are wrong. In fact, they are both wrong. Hammurabi and the American founding fathers alike imagined a reality governed by universal and immutable principles of justice, such as equality and hierarchy. Yet, the only place where such universal principles exist is in the fertile imagination of sapiens, and in the myths they invent and tell one another. These principles have no objective validity. It's easy for us to accept that the division of peoples into superiors and commoners is a figment of the imagination. Yet, the idea that all humans are equal is also a myth. In what sense do all humans equal one another? Is there any objective reality outside the human imagination in which we are truly equal? Are all humans equal to one another biologically? Let us try to translate the most famous line of the American Declaration of the Independence into biological terms. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. According to the science of biology, people were not created. They have evolved, and they certainly did not evolve to be equal. The idea of equality is inextricably intertwined with the idea of creation. The Americans got the idea of equality from Christianity, which argues that every person has a divinely created soul and that all souls are equal before God. However, if we do not believe in the Christian myths about God, creation, and souls, then what does it mean that all people are equal? Evolution is based on difference, not on equality. Every person carries a somewhat different genetic code, and it is exposed from birth to different environmental influences. This leads to the development of different qualities that carry with them different chances of survival. Created equal should therefore be translated into evolved differently. Just as people were never created, neither, according to the science of biology, is there a creator who endows them with anything. There is only a evolutionary process, devoid of any purpose, leading to the birth of individuals endowed by their creator, should be translated simply into born. Similarly, there are no such things as rights in biology. There are only organs, abilities, and characteristics. Birds fly not because they have a right to fly, but because they have wings. It's not true that these organs, abilities, and characteristics are unalienable. Many of them undergo constant mutations and may well be completely lost over time. The ostrich is a bird that lost its ability to fly, so unalienable rights should be translated into mutable characteristics. And what are the characteristics that involves in humans? Life, certainly, but liberty? There is no such things in biology. Just like equality, rights, and limited liability companies, liberty too is a political ideal rather than biological phenomenon. From a purely biological viewpoint, there's a little difference between the citizens of a republic and the subjects of a king. And what about happiness so far? Biological research has failed to come up with a clear definition of happiness or a way to measure it objectively. Most biological studies acknowledge only the existence of pleasure, which is more easily defined and measured. So, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness should be translated into life and the pursuit of pleasure. So, here's the line from American Declaration of Independence translated into biological terms. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men evolve differently, that they are born with certain mutable characteristics, and that among these are life and the pursuit of pleasure. Advocates of equality and human rights may be outraged by this line of reasoning. Their response is like to be, we know that people are not equal biologically, but if we believe that we are equal in essence, it will be able to create a stable and prosperous society. I have no argument with that. This is exactly what I mean by emergent order. We believe in particularly order, not because it is objectively true, but because believing enable us to cooperate effectively and force a better society. Imagined others are not evil conspiracies or useless mirage. Rather, they are only way large numbers of humans can cooperate effectively. Bear in mind that here Hammurabi might have defended his principle of hierarchy using the same logic. I know that superiors, commoners, and slaves are not inherently different kinds of people, but if we believe that they are, it will enable us to create a stable and prosperous society.